political rally. I've covered a million of them for over 30 years, and I've never spoken to one, never thought I would, and I'm so thrilled. I'm honored to be here. It's totally without shame and entirely with gratitude I'm standing here. And I can't believe I just spoke after Bobby Kennedy. So here we are at an enormous Donald Trump rally less than 2 weeks before the presidential election. I'm following Bobby Kennedy Jr. And somewhere in a half-empty Union Hall in a cold state is Dick Cheney's creepy little daughter campaigning with Kamala Harris. I have to say, that is a thrilling trade as far as I'm concerned. I never thought I would live to see the day when Bobby Kennedy would be one of the most beloved figures in a room full of Republicans, and Mr. Burns from The Simpsons and his criminal daughter would be Democrats. It's just absolutely wonderful. So here's my perspective. I think Donald Trump's going to win. That's why I'm here. I'm not here because he's going to win. I'm here because I'm so thrilled by what I've watched over the past 9 years. This is the end of a redemption arc. I've really never seen anybody treated like Donald Trump was treated, ever. Anybody, ever. Attack him. I watched this all up close. Defame him. Indict him. Arrest him. Let him get shot in the face. And he's gonna win anyway. Turned into a cliche by the people who write movie posters, but it doesn't make it any less real. Donald Trump's victory will be a triumph of the human spirit. It will be a triumph of Americans over the machine that seeks to oppress them. It'll be a middle finger wagging in the face of the worst people in the English-speaking world who are leaders. It will be a moral victory the size of which I never thought I would live to see. And it's essential. It is so important that that happens for a couple of reasons, and here's what they are. The first is to dissolve for all time, for the world to see, the primary lie about Donald Trump, which is that only freaks and misfits like him. That's a lie. And they've been telling that lie since the second he came down that escalator 9 years ago. If you like that, there's something wrong with you. You're the only person you know who likes that. You're a freak. Be ashamed. Do not talk about Donald Trump in public. Don't wear his dangerous little red hat. And if you're in the media, how dare you speak to him? And that was a lie from day one. It was a big lie. It was January 6th is an insurrection. What? It's the kind of lie that they tell relentlessly. They punish anyone who contradicts the lie because it is so preposterous it can only be upheld through force. And in the last 3 months, we have seen that lie dissolve like the Wicked Witch of the West under a bucket of water. Is this a room full of freaks and misfits? No, it's not. This is a room full of people who love their country enough to obey its laws, who sincerely believe in its founding precepts, who pay their taxes, who go to work. The ever-shrinking percentage of Americans who work a 40-hour week, who expect nothing from the system, and who have given their lives for the system, who were born in this country and plan to die here. And they're the most mistreated group in this nation, and they're also the biggest group in this nation. They're not some weird subculture of MAGA, they're America itself. And the only people who are denying that are the freaks and the misfits, who it turns out are themselves a tiny, bizarre minority, a cult, who have controlled the rest of us through fear and aggression. And that has ended. And it has ended thanks to the heroic stand that a couple of individuals have taken, first among them Elon Musk. Woo! Elon Musk, who single-handedly saved the First Amendment to the Constitution, which, let me remind you, is not just a feature of America, it's the basis of America. Yes! It's the First Amendment for a reason. It's what separates the free from the enslaved. Slaves are not allowed to say what they think. Free men have God-given right to do so and will. And this is the only country on earth in which that is guaranteed. And without Elon Musk, it wouldn't be, because he stands alone as the owner of a media platform that is still open. There's only one, and it's X. Yep. It's foreign-born Elon Musk. And then for him to come out, and by the way, just for the record, I've taken not $1 from Elon Musk, okay? It's not a paid advertisement, it's just an observation. And this is heartfelt gratitude. And when you see the richest man on planet Earth stand up there in a t-shirt and start jumping around on stage, he's also one of the biggest federal contractors. People say, oh, he's got FU money. No, it's just the opposite. There is no such thing as FU money. The more money you have, the more vested you are. There's only FU poverty, actually, is the truth. And Elon Musk has more to lose than any living American by taking the position that he did, and he did it anyway. And so what's the message? If the person who's created the most, not just piles of cash, he's not Larry Fink, he's not worshiping money like our finance class, he's building things. And if that guy is for Donald Trump, and not only not ashamed of it, he's jumping around in a t-shirt, I can see his belly button, he's so excited. Then maybe I'm not alone, maybe I'm not the freak.
Whoa!
A channel with virtually no viewers. A channel in which almost every single person has a personal life so grotesquely weird, if you knew the details, you'd call for their arrest. That's just true. And those people, the unhappiest people in this nation, are defining the terms of the conversation? I don't think so. January 6th an insurrection for 3 years by repeating it and by attacking anyone who disagreed. But it's an illusion. It's the Wizard of Oz. And once you pull back the curtain, the only thing back there is Joe Scarborough. You're like, wait a second. Why am I taking orders from this guy? He's a freak. I'm a normal person. And that realization has settled on this country. On the whole country, and you feel it. People are not afraid anymore. At all. I've got a bunch of kids I texted them speaking at a Trump rally.
Yep.
My kids, you go! You're voting for Carmela or whatever her name is? No. Of course not. That's embarrassing.
Yes.
It has flipped. The story the country tells itself about reality has flipped. None of the normal people are supporting the Democratic machine. Tim Walz is supporting the Democratic machine. A man you would never allow to babysit your own children. It's the party of weirdos, of envy, of hate, of resentment, of bitterness, of weakness, of a total lack of creativity. It's a party of conformity. It's a party of the machine, where it doesn't matter who the candidate is because individuals are immaterial. All that matters is the collective. That's the Soviet model. And opposing them is the rest of the country, slowly waking up to the fact that these people have no moral authority whatsoever. They have no legitimacy in a democracy where the government must rule by the consent of the governed. They have no consent. And the way that they've treated this country over the past 4 years is the most shocking thing I've ever seen in 55 years. To allow millions of people, mostly young men with no skills and no English, into our country illegally, and then fly them around at our expense and give them phones and put them on welfare programs that no American citizen can get. It is the most insulting. Yeah, boo. But it's worse than boo. That's the biggest crime in the history of the United States of America. And it takes incredible stones, incredible gall for the people who did that to stand up there on a stage and give you a lecture about how you're immoral. It's too much. And so that's the second important thing about this election, okay? The first is every person in this room needs to understand you are not in a despised minority. You are in an incredibly gentle and tolerant majority who put up with this crap. And they insulted not only you, but the memory of your ancestors who died for this country. They can't build anything in their lives. They went out of their way to humiliate you and spit on you and the graves of your ancestors. And that's not an exaggeration, they did that. And this country is so nice, it's so polite, it's so thoughtful and empathetic and sweet. It's the kind of country that loves dogs and gives directions to strangers, that we put up with it for 4 years. But we can't anymore.
Woo!
And we can't for 2 reasons. The first reason that we can't put up with it for 1 more minute is because it's just not justice. It's not justice. It's unfair. You cannot reward the most parasitic, useless, violent, nasty, aggressive people in your country. You can't make them the richest. You just can't. It's just wrong. In a fair, decent country, the people who work the hardest, who have the highest level of talent, who are the most creative, who are the most decent to their neighbors, who give the biggest tips to waitresses, those people should be successful. Those people should be revered. It shouldn't be very fake. Are you joking? Kamala Harris shouldn't have a job. She has no skills.
Yes.
How did we wind up with a system where Kamala Harris, you couldn't change the tire on your truck, much less drive it? How did she wind up at the top of the pyramid? And then when she's there, she lectures you like you did something. It's too much. Can't allow that. It's an offense against the truth, against reality, and against justice itself. And the second reason you can't allow it is very familiar to anyone who has children, which is if you allow it, you will encourage more of it. If you allow people to get away with things that are completely over the top and outrageous, if you allow your 2-year-old to smear the contents of his diapers on the wall of your living room, and you do nothing about it, if you allow your 14-year-old to light a joint at the breakfast table, if you allow your hormone-addled 15-year-old daughter to slam the door of her bedroom and give you the finger, you're gonna get more of it. And those kids are gonna wind up in rehab. It's not good for you, and it's not good for them. No. There has to be a point at
Chưa
which
gom đủ tiền cho nên chưa được hồi trước đâu em ơi.
He loves them. Because they're his children, they live in his house. But he's very disappointed in their behavior. And he's gonna have to let them know. He's gonna have to get to your room right now and think about what you did. And when Dad gets home, you know what he says? You've been a bad girl. You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now. And no, it's not gonna hurt me more than it hurts you. No, it's not. I'm not gonna lie. This is gonna hurt you a lot more than it hurts me.
Yeah.
And you earned this. You're getting a vigorous spanking because you've been a bad girl. And it has to be this way. It has to be this way because it's true. And you're only gonna get better when you take responsibility for what you did.
Right.
That's not said in the spirit of hate. It's not said in the spirit of vengeance or bigotry. Far from it. It's said in the spirit of justice. justice, which is the purest and best thing there is. And without it, things fall apart.
Thank you.
The Democratic Party machine, and notice I'm not beating up on Kamala Harris, it's just a hapless victim who happened to be there in the right colors, so they grabbed her. Tim Walz, they needed some, whatever Tim Walz is. Weak man, because it is the party of weak men and unhappy women.
Yeah!
Which leads to the other, by the way. Where you find weak men, you will inevitably find unhappy women. Sorry. And they make them on purpose. They weaken the men to drive the women insane to have the most consistent voting bloc ever in the history of politics. Unhappy women made unhappy by weak men. And it could be anybody. It could be anybody. Kamala Harris is just a stand-in. She's a cardboard cutout. She has this whole God created her, I'm not attacking her for humanity. But there's nothing there, it doesn't matter. If it wasn't Kamala Harris, it would be, I don't know, Pete Buttigieg or whatever, who are these people? They're the cutouts. They work for the machine. They're totally dispensable, they're replaceable. And they need to have limits set for them. And so on election day, and I sincerely believe Donald Trump's going to win. And if I thought he was going to lose, I'd be here anyway.
Yes, we will.
I would. In fact, I would have been here earlier if I thought he was going to lose, just to make the point. I mean it. I don't like people who jump on the winning train, okay? I think Donald Trump's going to win.
Yeah! Woo! We will win.
I don't know if Donald Trump's going to win. I think that the vibe shift has been so profound. I mean, the numbers suggest he's going to win. He's ahead in all 7 battleground states. But much more important, and the early voting seems to be favoring him. But more important even than the conventional political markers is what you smell around you. And it's the return of freedom.
Yes.
It's the return of the country you grew up in.
Right.
Where you could say things like, I like that guy, and maybe like the other person, that's fine. That was not allowed for 9 years. And it's allowed now. And I think, and it's because of what they did, by the way, they deserve this.
Right.
But I think the vibe is so strong right now,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't think we can get away with pretending something else happened. I don't think we can have another 2020 at this point.
Yes.
I know. For the kid-relevant facts from you, they prevented you from knowing about their candidate and then claimed victory. Or 37 billion votes or whatever they claim he got. That's rigging the election.
Yep.
Period.
Yes.
If the government prevents people from knowing critical information about a candidate, they have rigged the election. And they did that.
Yes.
Period. Oh, you're not allowed to say that. I'm not allowed to say it because it's 100% true. And every person who hears it knows it's true, including the people who did it.
Woo.
I don't think they can do that again.
No.
I don't. And I don't think, no matter what they pull, 2 weeks from now, 13 days from now, I don't think they can get away with standing up and being like, on MSNBC, no, actually, Kamala Harris is a historically popular, it turns out. A woman who's never had a job who can't even pronounce her own first name consistently. That's how false she is.
No.
Some woman who grew up in Montreal, Canada is lecturing me about America. Okay. I don't think they can do that. Because I don't think people are going to sit back and take it. I don't.
No.
It's enough. It's enough. That's the point at which you say no. I'm sorry. I put up with this crap for a long time. I indulge in a little fantasy. It's like when your teenage girl becomes a vegetarian and you're like, okay, that's, well, okay, fine. No, I totally understand. You're like, it's a phase. But if that phase goes on for 9 years and includes destroying your major cities and allowing your country to be invaded by millions of foreigners whose identities you don't know, and whose purpose in this country is unclear, by the way, why shouldn't we feel threatened by that? If they go out of their way to crush families, to make it impossible for your kids to buy a house, and getting involved in the sex lives of your children, which they are, if they do all of that, they need to lose. And at the end of all, when they tell you they've won, no, You can look them straight in the face and say, I'm sorry, Dad's home, and he's pissed.
Woo! Thank you! Thank you for the Tucson! Thank you! Woo! Thank you! Look at that! Thank you!
Let's hear it for Charlie Kirk.
How are we doing, Georgia? I'll tell you, this is a historic moment, everybody. By the way, have you been seeing the early voting numbers out of this state? You are living through a once-in-a-generation realignment, everybody, where it is no longer Republican versus Democrat. It's no longer the traditional dividing lines of a general Donald Trump and be here as our movement accepts them warmly. You see, they say Donald Trump is the best at deals the world has ever seen. And just look at this deal. We get Tulsi Gabbard and Bobby Kennedy, they get Liz Cheney. We get Elon Musk, they get Adam Kinzinger. You can have the warmongers of a generation prior, while we diversify, deepen, and strengthen our movement to include people that otherwise would never have been part of the Republican Party. Who here is a former Democrat? Raise your hand. Look at that. And by the way, you are all welcome in our movement, because the Democrat Party left you a long time ago. As many of you know, I visit college campuses, so you don't have to. Just yesterday, we were on the campus of University of Georgia. I'm going to get a text message from Ted Cruz, but good job, guys, last week. That's all I'm going to say. It was so amazing. Off to the side, there was this sad, pathetic display of misfits of 5 people at the Harris Walls table. And just feet away, we had 5,000 students attend. 5,000 students. The Democrats are so confused at what is going on. Never before has conservatism, the ideas of freedom, liberty, American exceptionalism have been so popular on these college campuses. You see, they're feeling what you're feeling, but even more so. This is the most depressed, sick, medicated, anxious generation in history. They're the first generation since George Washington to have their life and their standard of living worse off than their parents. This is a broken social contract, and how many of you feel as if the DC political class has forgotten you. The college students that I'm talking to, when they hear Kamala Harris continue on her diatribe of nothing, they recognize and realize that the DC political elite has failed them for one exception. That there were new wars under Bush, and new wars under Obama, and new wars under Biden, but for 4 years there were no new wars. And that for the last 4 years, people have been getting poor. In Atlanta, in order to buy a home when Donald Trump was president, you needed to make $75,000 a year. Now, it requires $135,000 a year, and interest rates are near 10%.
Right.
And understand, this is intentional. They're trying to create a nation of renters, because when you rent, they can control you. When you own property, you're a free citizen, and they can't tell you what to do. In order to create more conservatives and more people who love the country, you need to have the 3 M's. Young people need to get married, they need to mate, and get a mortgage. The 3 M's are 3 things the Democrat Party is against. They do not celebrate marriage. They certainly do not celebrate having children. They had an abortion truck at their national convention. and they're making it harder than ever to buy a home. Donald Trump is running on a once-in-a-generation campaign to revitalize the American dream for a generation that has been mortgaged by the DC political class over the last 50 years. And where we are right now in Georgia will determine the future of America. You see, we are doing exceedingly well with early voting right now. And this is a very important distinction. Election day is the last day of voting. We have 12 days of voting left in this state. We have days about voting and get them out to the polls. You have 12 days to outwork the Democrats, and that is my main message to you here. Do you really think, after they tried to put Donald Trump in prison for 700 years, they've tried to assassinate him a couple times, impeach him a couple times, that they're going to roll over in the next 12 days? You think they're going to hand us the keys to the White House? What Tucker said is correct. The early voting numbers are good. The voter registration numbers are good. We draw crowds 10 times, 100 times bigger than that. But you're trying to tell me that John Brennan and James Comey and Clapper and Susan Rice and Barack Obama are just going to say, you know what? We're 12 days out. Go have the White House, MAGA. No. Instead, you must be on guard. In fact, you must be vigilant that these people are going to try something in a panic, despair, the likes of which we've never seen, because they know that their time is running out. They know the American people are ascendant and that their time will soon come on November 5th. So what does that mean? And you can smell it in the air. You can smell the panic. You can smell the desperation. You can smell the disgust of what they see coming forward. And the thing that scares them and terrifies them more than anything else, is that we not just vote, but we get new people to go vote, and we chase every single voter in this state, and in Arizona, and in Nevada, and Pennsylvania, and North Carolina, and Wisconsin, and Michigan. You see, you're going to be able to tell your kids and your grandkids about this moment. You're going to be able to tell them about the moment that you were in Georgia, and the entire country was put in jeopardy. You are going to be able to tell them about when the Constitution was put in suspense. And that is why this election feels bigger than any other election that we lived in. Because it's not just the typical corporate tax rate debate that we have enjoyed. Instead, it is so much bigger. It is civilizational defining. And you need to go to every single person you know and say, are you voting for Trump? Well, I don't know if I'm going to vote. You have to repeat this. You say, no new wars, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, largest deportation effort ever, drill baby drill, gas prices low, restoration of the Constitution, Supreme Court justices we can trust, and end for low fare. Those 10 things you tell every single voter in the state, and you committed to them.
Woo! Woo! Woo-hoo!
And it's going to require a citizen force, because these next 12 days will define the future of our republic. And that is why you are here. That is why you waited hours and hours and hours to get into here. And that is exactly what we're doing at Turning Point Action, to register new voters in states that are still registering voters, like Michigan, and same-day registration. And as I travel the country, and I'm doing this on college campuses, I can feel a surge, the likes of which was even greater than 2020, the likes of which that was even greater than 2016. It is a citizen-led movement, and let's just remember what we have been through, everybody. The forces of darkness have tried everything they possibly can. And what does success look like? It looks like no matter what you throw at this movement, no matter how much you tar and feather us, smear, slander, call us names, cancel us, you call us a racist, or you try to put our candidate in jail, that we understand that this is a different type of divide. This is the citizens of a country who we own the country, not them.
Yes!
We own the country.
Right!
We're in charge, not you. You work for us. And we are willing to send a message. And Donald Trump is a metaphorical, you hear that, media? A metaphorical tomahawk missile against the DC ruling regime to send them a reminder. We're the boss. You're not. You see, the media, they're starting to really get upset. So why is it that people are still voting Trump after all these things? It's because of all of these things that we're still voting for Trump. I look at a man who refuses to give up. They say, well, is this someone that you want your kids to grow up and to look up to? I say, yes, I'm going to tell my son that in the line of fire, that if you ever think as if things could ever get dark and you rise and you say, fight, 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 I want my son to be like that one day.
Right.
I want my kids to look up to a president that even though they take his business empire away and he's facing 7 lifetimes in prison, he keeps on fighting for you, where he has nothing to gain and everything to lose to get into the arena. There has never been a candidate in modern American history that has lost so much for something that did not benefit him, but instead put you in the room, and that is why they are so anxious and nervous. I want you to understand.
Woo! Yes.
Right now, they are popping pills at Pfizer that Bobby Kennedy might run the FDA and the CDC everybody. Right now, the warmongers in D.C. are shaking. They're trembling like a leaf that Tulsi Gabbard might go in and expose the fraud of us sending $200 billion to Ukraine while our border remains wide open. The government gangsters, as Pastor Patel would put it, that have robbed us blind, they're starting to get really nervous saying, is Elon Musk really going to come in and look at our budgets? Oh, you better believe Elon Musk is going to come in. The Department of Government Efficiencies are. And welcome combo team, everybody. It is from people that have gained so much in the system and have bottom up, and the only people supporting Kamala Harris are the ones that are happy robbing more from you and covering up for their crimes. Let me say that again. The only people supporting Kamala Harris are comfortable robbing more from you and covering up for your crimes. For 50 years, this part of America has grown poorer, while the Kingdom of Washington, D.C. has grown infinitely richer. The wealthiest counties in America are all centered around Washington, D.C. And the heartland of this country and the industrial base of this country, where the muscular class built this country, have seen their jobs shipped over to China, and we got a bunch of opioids in return, and piles of plastic, and deteriorated neighborhoods that we no longer recognize. And in a series of events that only God could orchestrate, in a series of events that only our divine Father could put together, the most unusual set of circumstances is that a billionaire from New York had to get in the arena to tell the other billionaires that have been robbing you, the game is over, you're fired, and the American people are
Woo! Thank you. Woo! Beautiful. Yeah. Woo! Thank you.
We are here in a state that is a very Christian state, a state that loves God and loves Jesus.
Yes.
If there is my biggest concern of this election, it is the faithful, it is the pastors that are not engaging right now in this election. We have 12 days left, and you need to lovingly challenge pastors that are silent, that you have a biblical obligation to engage in this election, that you have a biblical obligation to fight evil and to exalt righteousness. For no other reason than 320,000 missing kids on our southern border right now, which is modern-day slavery, and Donald Trump put an end to it. Donald Trump is the most pro-life president in American history, as he's responsible for the murders of Jerusalem, Moses Wade, moved to embassy to Jerusalem, and more than anything else, everybody, is on the other side. The Democrat Party supports everything that God hates. The Democrat Party is espousing the death of the unborn, the mutilation of our teenage kids, open borders, the destruction of our sovereignty, the elimination of our currency status. I believe there is a spiritual battle happening around all of us, but don't expect a spiritual victory if our own pastors not engaged. Right now, this state is a Christian state. I want to see that to continue. But we need the faithful. We need those of you that have influence over your congregation to put pressure on your pastors. And those, if you're a pastor watching this right now, I hope this touches you. I hope you, and I'm looking right at the camera right now, I hope you give a Sunday sermon and you talk about how the Democrat Party leads everything. I hope you tell your congregation how to do it. I hope you share with them and tell them to get the idea. Because everybody, we have 12 days on voting left. This day will determine the future of America. Go vote now. Fight evil. Get in the arena. And if we do that, on November 5th, we'll be looking at that beautiful CNN clip. Donald Trump elected the first.
Thank you cả nhà nhé. Bây giờ mình sẽ ngưng lại với một xíu nữa là like trực tiếp cho tổng thống ta nói chuyện nha, đúng 7:30. Ok quý vị.